what's up mga Aeronautics? Ay napapunta nga kami ngayon sa rebulto ni Jose P. Laurel. Yan. So, naglalakad na kami. Teka lang, and by the way, tignan nyo na lang yung kagandahan ng Rojas Boulevard. Yan, dito kami sa Rojas Boulevard. And yung paghahanap namin sa mukha ni Jose P. Laurel, na nalilito na kami kung saan pa talaga siya. At dito namin siya natagpuan sa Rojas Boulevard, sa may bandang Pedro Hill, yung mga kaibigan. So tatawid muna kami, baka kami masagasaan. So ayan. Babalik muna kami pag nandun na kami. Bye. So ayun nga ng mga Aeronautics. So nakikita nyo nasa likod ko ang rebulto ni Jose P. Laurel. So ito rebulto na to, tinatag to noong March 6, 2008 para bilang maging simbolo ng pagmamahal niya para sa ating mga kabataan. So hindi lang ito yung rebulto na meron dito sa Pilipinas. Hindi marami siyang rebulto. Ito. So ayan yung mga rebulto niya. Jose P. Laurel may not have the stature of Plato or Cicero, but he did reflect on man and government, expounding his ideas on such topics as the proper relationships among the branches of government, including the national and international government, between the church and the state, between the administration and the opposition political parties, between conservatism and radicalism, and among the states of the world.
More significantly, Laurel had organized and systematized his political ideas in his four works: the Birkenhead Manuscript, Political and Moral Orientation, Bread and Freedom, and Thinking for Ourselves. To understand Laurel's political philosophy, we should also read Laurel's letters, Supreme Court decisions, speeches in Congress, and in the public forum.
Jose P. Laurel, political philosopher. Individuals, according to Laurel, cannot forever remain in solitude. No man can be an island unto himself. What throws individuals into a social cohesion is this psychological fear of solitude. Although a person is gregarious and cannot live without others, he or she realizes it is not likewise easy to live with each other. This is a constant personal attraction and the tolerant social repulsion, a love-hate relationship. I love my neighbor, but I also hate my neighbor.
What goes among individuals goes likewise among nations. Japan wanted isolationism, but military and economic survival required that it should circulate itself among other nations. Its massive industrialization necessitated a constant supply of raw materials and greater trade within a larger area. A greater East Asia co-prosperity sphere was needed. To ensure such a success, a costly military adventurism far exceeded the expectations of the British, French, and American colonial masters of Asia, and even the gain-loss equation of Quezon. It may be costly to invade the Philippines, but the economic gain far outweighs the cost in terms of the long-term East Asia co-prosperity scheme. When Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, the die was cast.
Quezon decided that Laurel should stay in the Philippines to help George Vargas, the mayor of Manila, welcome the Japanese who entered the Philippines through northern Luzon in Apari and Bigan, and southern Luzon in Legazpi, by making Manila an open city. Quezon himself would head the Commonwealth government in exile in the United States. Laurel, as a lawyer earlier, helped Japanese businessmen open up agricultural lands in Mindanao. He also received an honorary doctorate degree from the University of Tokyo. These Japanese connections enabled the Japanese to gain confidence in Laurel, who later became the president of the Japanese-sponsored Philippine Republic. After the war, Laurel, while in Sugamo prison in Japan, wrote his memoirs and some of his moral political ideas. Laurel believed that the love-hate relationship necessitates some rules of ethical behavior for individuals in the form of laws, customs, and traditions, and for nations. In the form of treaties and executive agreements, The law differentiates between what is legally good evil and between what is legally just or unjust. The people's support of their government would ideally entail their protection from injustice, abolish laws, and everything would fall in confusion. August 15, 1945, Laurel was arrested for collaboration with the Japanese and was charged him with 132 counts of treason. This was ordered by General Douglas MacArthur, but Laurel gained an amnesty because of the President Manuel Rojas in 1948. In year 1949, wherein the dirtiest election occurred, Laurel ran for the position of president and lost against Elpidio Quirino. Under the Nacionalista Party, he was elected to the Senate in 1951. In 1953, he declined to run as a president and then he was appointed by Magsaysay in a mission for trade and other issues with the U.S. officials.
The original and most primitive form of social organization, according to Laurel, as Aristotle had said more than 2,000 years ago, is the family. In its primary group, the pater familias or the father exercise absolute authority. Laurel is a champion of human liberty. Freedom, he affirms, not slavery, nor subjection, nor subservience to the will of another, is the natural God-given status of a man and of a nation. As Laurel understands it, freedom has two aspects, individual and collective. Individual freedom is physical, intellectual, and moral development without unnecessary restraint or curtailment. On the other hand, collective freedom is emancipation from alien bondage and foreign control in the administration of the country's internal and external affairs.
Laurel also says that the ultimate and ideal community of man does not end in a nation. For man's vision transcends this national community, this community which has been man's dream throughout the centuries, is none other than the commonwealth of man, where all men are brothers and under a government based on righteousness and justice.
Laurel's political philosophy is strongly suffused with morality. This fact will become clear upon examination of his ideas on government, law, leadership, citizenship, and international relations. Because of this, Laurel belongs to the same group of moral philosophers of the state, such as Plato, Aristotle, Cicero, Saint Augustine, Saint Thomas Aquinas, Rizal, and Mabini. Laurel's idea of morality is best understood in relation to righteousness. For as Laurel himself says, the basis of morality is righteousness. For righteousness is that which is common to the teachings and precepts of all the great religions. It is doing what is right and refraining from doing what is wrong.
Laurel's political philosophy is not original. His idea of democracy has much in common with that of John Locke, James Madison, Jeremy Bentham, and John Stuart Mill. His sense of morality and righteousness has strong affinity to that of Plato, Cicero, Christ, Buddha, Confucius, and Saint Augustine. His nationalism was derived from Marcelo H. del Pilar, Jose Rizal, Apolinario Mabini, and Manuel Quezon. His internationalism was influenced by his reading of Stoic, Christian, Hindu, Buddhistic, and Confucian literature and international law. His liberalism was inspired by Oliver Wendell Holmes. His conservatism goes back to Virgil, and this idea of flux and evolution is akin to that of Charles Darwin and Herbert Spencer. His concept of equilibrium has Aristotelian overtones. And finally, his concept of man was greatly influenced by Alexis Carrel.
Laurel's political philosophy is significant for at least three reasons. First, his political philosophy offers a systematic and eloquent defense of democracy, which supporters of democracy should strive for or live by. Second, Laurel teaches that man, the national state, and the international organization should aim at the equilibrium of the various forces and elements which compose them, not to effect robust uniformity and static stability which respect and dignify man. And finally, Laurel prescribes that righteousness should be the basis of government, law, and politics, whether national or